What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. So in today's video, we're going to be doing one of the 3 starter decks that are coming out with the Cinderella girls, and today we are doing Passion. Well, if you're like me and you're going into the set not really knowing that much about Cinderella girls, that's okay, because, you know, we're really here for the card effects and what the cards can really do. But I only know a couple of these characters from this anime, and Mio Honda especially, just from a meme that I saw on the internet. But outside of that, let's go ahead and start getting into these cards. Alright, and the first card we have is Positive Passion Honda Mio. So she's a 6-cost 5/5, she has Rust. When she comes into play, you look at the top 2 cards from your deck, and from among them, you may put a Passion follower onto the field and then put the rest to the graveyard. You can also activate for 2 play points and 2 lessons. You can look at the top 2 cards from your deck, and from among them, you may put a Passion follower onto the field, and you put the rest to the graveyard. Alright, so I want to give a disclaimer that if you did not watch the basic video, or you do not understand that if you're rocking a Cinderella Girls deck that you get those 3 extra tokens in the EX area, go ahead and watch this basic video that I have right here. I'll put it in the top right here, so you guys can go ahead and check it out and figure out what that does. But outside of that, it's pretty nice that Honda Mia is able to look for the top 2 for a Passion follower no matter what the cost is, and then play it. And then there's another ability to get rid of those 2 lesson cards in your EX area, and then 2 play points if you're on 8 play points to play her to go ahead and do that same ability on the fanfare again. Alright, next up we have Handmade Happiness Takamori Aiko. She's a 4-cost 4/4. She has a straight up activate ability of putting 3 Passion followers onto the field into engaged position. You may put a Passion follower from your hand onto the field. It has, at the start of your end phase, put this to your hand. So if I'm thinking correctly, she's able to put herself into the engaged position too, because it doesn't say other, it just says put 3 Passion followers into the engaged position. So you can use her and then 2 other Passion followers that are on the field to play another Passion follower, which is kind of really bad because you already need the 3 on board. So that means you can only play 2 more cards. So I think what the combo is, you're going to be playing Handmade Happiness, and then you're going to go into the Mio Honda, and then the Mio Honda is going to play something else. Alright, and the last legendary we have for the deck is Positive Passion Hino Akanai. So she's an 8-cost 7/7. She has Storm, but she has a fanfare ability with a lesson of 3 and discarding 2 Passion cards from her hand. You can deal 6 damage to all followers on the field, and then you draw 2 cards. So it seems like this is the boss monster you're going for, of course, if you're going to be using that legendary card to put cards from your hand for free with Mio Hondo. This is obviously going to be one of the targets you're going to be getting. Alright, so here's a chart here for you visual learners. So you can use the 4-cost Aiko Tamori to get out the Mio Honda, and the Mio Honda can look at the top 2 cards of your deck and make sure that they're a Passion follower, and then you can put them into play from the top of your deck. You can get the A-cost, which is one of those abilities, and she has Storm, and then dealing 6 damage to all followers on the field with her lesson ability, and then you're able to draw 2 cards as well. So it's not too crazy, of course, for like a typical Shadowverse Evolve deck, but you know, it's a starter deck, so it had to be some sort of like crazy jank that needed to work. So I think for a starter deck, that's not too bad. Alright, so let's start looking at the other Passion followers, and we have Ryuzaki Karu. So she's a 1-cost 2/2. You can also activate for 2 play points if there are 5 or more Passion cards in your graveyard. You can choose a follower from your graveyard and put it to your hand. This ability can only be used once per turn. Alright, so I'm going to let you guys know that most of these cards are going to be archetype heavy, so you're not going to really be able to splash any of these other cards into newer decks unless you're just looking for a stat line. Like if you're playing some sort of aggro dragon and trying to get a 1-cost 2/2, this is something that you can look into. But obviously for the Passion deck, it's not that bad. You're going to be paying 3 to get a card back, especially if it's like a boss monster or something like that and you're late in the game. Because if you're going to be using the starter deck in any sort of battle, the game's gonna go on for a very long time. Alright, next up we have Ueda Suzuho. So she's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve her for 1, but when she's played, you look at the top card of your deck. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of the helpful cards that you use with Mio Hondo, so you can see what you might potentially get. But let's see what her evolve card does. Alright, and we have Suzuho Evolve. So on Evolve, you choose a follower from the enemy field and you reveal the top card of your deck. Deal damage to it equal to the cost of the revealed card, original cost. Alright, so an interesting ability. So you can reveal the top card of your deck, and you have to pray that it's not a bad card, because you can already see it from the unevolved form. So you can choose if you want to evolve it or not, or just wait until the next turn. But honestly, waiting until the next turn might not even happen because your follower might not be there. In terms of like starter deck battles, of course, because if we're in regular Shadowverse, this deck would not fly. But It's pretty cool that you're able to reveal the top card of your deck and then deal damage equal to a card's cost. Outside of that, I think the card art is pretty interesting because I honestly don't know what's going on. But outside of that, I feel like this is a pretty okay card. Alright, next up we have Akagi Miria. So she's a 2-cost 2/2. You can evolve her for 1, and when she comes into play Fanfare, you can spend 2 play points and use 1 lesson, and this card gets +1/+1. Alright, so you mean to tell me I spent 2 play points and then I gotta spend an extra 2 play points to make this a Latham? And then also on top of that, I have to use one of my token cards to make it a Latham. Alright. Alright, but unlike Latham, Miria has an Evolve form and she's a 3/3. So on Evolve, you discard a Passion card and then you draw 2 cards. A pretty interesting card to be digging deeper into your deck to just, just draw more cards. It kind of sucks that you do have to discard a card to do this effect, but, digging through your deck is still nice. Alright, and next up we have Yaguchi Mio. So she's a 3-cost 2/4. She has Ward. When she comes into play, you put the top card of your deck into your graveyard. If the original cost of the card sent to the graveyard is an odd number, draw a card. If the original cost of the card sent to your graveyard is an even number, add 2 to your leader's health. So it's nice that whatever that you mill is going to be odd or even, so you can get an ability for both. So now you can either draw a card or heal 2, and it's pretty nice that she's a 3-cost with a 2/4 stat line. And next up we have Matsuyama Kimiko. So she's a 4-cost 4/4. You can evolve her for 1. Alright, looking at the Kumiko evolve, so she turns into a 5/5. On evolve, you choose a passive follower with an original cost of 3 or less from your graveyard and you put it onto the field. So it puts a big smile on my face when I see somebody play a card and then that card plays another card, because you get 2 for the price of 1. So you were able to put a Passion card from your graveyard onto the field, but putting the Passion card into your graveyard is probably the harder part, or if your enemy already did that, you can use it with the other follower that we just looked at, the Mirai, by pitching a Passion follower that's 3 or less, and then later on in the game you can just go ahead and use this ability to go ahead and get it back. Alrighty, next up we have Moroboshi Kirai. So she's a 9-cost 9/9. When you play this card, if there's any followers with an original cost of 1 on your field, subtract 3 from this card's cost. She has Ward. When she comes into play Fanfare, put all followers in your field into the unengaged state. A very interesting ability. I'm not sure with the Fanfare effect, if you, swing out with your entire board and you play this card, are you able to swing out again? I mean, with the cost of 9, I would say yes. Or I guess the cost of 6 too if you have a 1-cost follower, but I feel like with the cost of 9 you should be able to swing with your followers again after you've swung with them. Just let me know down below in the comments if I'm wrong about this. But moving on, we have Zaizen Tokiko. So she's a 3-cost 4/3. When she comes into play, you deal damage to all enemy leaders equal to the number of other Dorima followers on your field. So it seems like Dorima's also going to be another archetype with a passion. I know there's going to be more Dorima followers in the actual set, and we'll definitely get into that later on in the week, of course, with the reveals and whatnot. But it seems like Dorima's is something we'll have to look into. Alright, next up we have Hoshi Soyuko. I'm pretty sure I said that correctly. I'm seeing my English sometimes cannot be 100%. But she's a 2-cost 3/2. You can evolve her for 1. And this card is unable to attack any enemy leaders or followers on the enemy field. And at the start of your end phase, you add 1 to your leader's health. So not bad. It's a card that's just going to be accumulating a lot of value towards the end of your turn if the longer it stays alive. It's kind of a big budget destruction in white, except instead of your main phase, it has to get to the end phase. And looking at the Hoshi evolve, so she's still at 3/2. At the start of your end phase, deal 1 damage to all enemy leaders, and then last words, deal 1 damage to all enemy leaders. So no longer on the end phase are you going to be healing for 1, you are now going to be dealing 1 damage to enemy leaders on the last words and at every end phase that she stays alive too. Alright, next up we have Natalia. So she's a 2-cost 1/3. She has Storm, but she has a Fanfare ability to choose a follower from the enemy field. Deal damage to it equal to the number of other Passion followers on your field. So it's kind of nice that this card is kind of giving Takayo Teo. Unfortunately, Takayo is just a little bit better because it does, double amount of X, but it seems like X is going to be, whatever the number is outside of Natalia, because Natalia does not count herself. Alright, next up we have Okawa Shizuku. So she's a 3-cost 2/5. When she comes into play, you add 2 to your leader's health, and if there are 5 or more Passion cards in your cemetery, add 4 to your leader's health instead. I think this is a pretty nice card for a stat line too, just because it has a, just generic Fanfare ability to heal 2, and then her defense is already 5. On 3, that's going to be a little hard to remove sometimes for certain decks. So I feel like if you're going to be building the Alana's Prayer build or something like that, I think this card might be pretty useful. But if you're rocking in the Passion deck, of course, it's going to be a bit better just because it heals you forward. Alright, moving on, we have Katagiri Sanai. So she's a 7 cost 7/7. She has Rush and Ward, and when this card receives 4 or more damage, it becomes 3 damage instead. So it seems like at any point in time, if this card's going to receive any damage, it's going to be reduced to just 3. If it takes 3, then you know, of course, it's going to go to 4, but it's always going to be at 4 defense no matter what happens to this card. So make sure you pay attention closely when swinging into this card. Alright soldiers, well that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. That is it for the Passion starter deck. We'll be doing the other 2 decks, of course, today in the other videos whenever you check them out. I'll put a link here maybe, or I'll just drop them in the end of the video, however it works. But make sure you guys are safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN just to get you